in the aspect of working on rectifying an aircraft from the original state when it's being supplied to us. So there are many areas of such that we can look at. I must say some of my friends who are actually from engineering background who joined Singapore Airlines, they were pilot, they were load master, they were air traffic controllers, they were even experts on the ground who actually can man and tow an aircraft with the equipment, whether it's unmanned vehicle, towing vehicle, ataupun with a manned towing vehicle. So the scope is quite wide in the aviation industry on the whole. Where do I see this taking to the next level for aviation is, I'm sure you all have seen it, the aviation in the future, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, even in this country and globally, is going to see us flying to the space. It's already a reality when Richard Branson already launched a space program to commercialize. So this is going to be a great job opportunities. I have personally written to him and he has responded to me, even interested to set up a capsule in Southeast Asia, and he doesn't mind looking at Malaysia. So those are the scope of area that we're looking at even in the future in expanding travel ataupun aviation to the next level. So it's no more just flying from Subang to Langkawi or KLIA to KK and Kuching anymore. So it's going to be beyond that. We are even talking about in the future, there's going to be a flying cars. We're talking about amphibious aircraft that can land on water and land, can make travel a lot easier. Individually, one can own a plane and start traveling on their own without even have to fly on a commercial plane. So those are the scope of aviation industry we're looking at. When all these are happening, what is going to be a great shortage will be repair and maintenance, overhaul of those aircraft, because those who buying and those who are flying are not certified to operate. They are only certified to purchase and operate. They probably are not trained to repair, maintain, and overhaul an aircraft. So it's going to be a great opportunity out there for all of you to look at just beyond the engineering aspect, but even in the front of technology development and re-engineering aspect that I've just mentioned, retrofitting, refurbishing works, modification works that is growing. Can I touch one point here? You must have noticed earlier in the video, was only for a short second, you saw someone was washing the aircraft. Everybody thought washing an aircraft just like washing our car, but it's actually no. It takes our aircraft, I've got about 6 of them now in Subang Sky Park trained to wash an aircraft. It took them 6 months before they can actually physically wash an aircraft on their own to be trained, because there is an area where the water cannot go in. There's an area where the radar and the radome is that where you cannot physically spray water. The pressure of the water has to be equal so that you don't scrape the paint or damage the aircraft. So that is how meticulous it is, even for the extent of washing an aircraft. Okay, it comes with a price. After we put in so much aspect of training, and when we are ready, now Subang Sky Park wash, I am proud to say we wash about 25 to 35 aircraft a year, and all the aircraft that we wash comes in from Singapore, Indonesia, Thailand, Brunei, not just Malaysia I'm talking about. And why I'm saying this is it's an interesting avenue by itself. To wash one aircraft going to cost the owner between 5,000 ringgit to 10,000 ringgit. That's how expensive it is. And the duration required to wash the aircraft is probably half a day to one whole day. When I say one whole day here, is probably from 8 a.m. to about 6 to 7 p.m. That's how long it takes to wash the aircraft from the wheelbase right up to the top flap. That is an example. So if you're looking at many aspects in aviation, I can just go on and on and on. As I was saying earlier, because this is one industry, when I joined, I realized that the value in aviation is not just Malaysia, but it's global. Our value, our CV is global, and we will also be able to earn in foreign exchange. So you have seen, or you must have heard, most of our best pilots, best engineers today are actually powering Singapore Airlines, are actually powering Emirates, are actually powering Qatar Airways, Etihad, all the best airline in the world. So they are partly, most of them behind the scene are partly Malaysian. So that's how robust is that industry scope is on the whole. If before I go on, if you all have any other, I was told my session is 1 hour. Okay, I've got another half an hour. If you all have any other questions so far, before I can just migrate to the next area where we can talk about some of the other interesting areas such as hangars, MRO, the potential of MRO in Malaysia, the region, and the demand for MRO capable engineers for this region, and the demand for MRO in business aviation, general aviation, and commercial aviation. So before I go there, so I'd like to hear if there's any comments from any one of you, any questions from any one of you.
So I have a question.
Yes, please.
About the airplane, you need some precision methods to wash the aircraft, right? If I say that there is a small scratch when we wash the airplane, does it affect the performance of the aircraft?
Is that Ahmad Arif, right?
Like just a small scratch, or there is any effect on that?
Oh, hi, Haikal. Sorry. I lost you in the beginning. Did you ask me if there's a small scratch?
When we wash the airplane, if the workers are not very careful, the worker may scratch the paint, right, of the aircraft. So
Correct.
if that happens, does the performance will be affected?
Okay. Good question. Very good question. First and foremost, yes, the performance of the company will be affected where we will be claimed against the compensation, either insurance or we need to compensate for the damage caused. So here we may need to send the aircraft to the MRO organization for a quick inspection to see how severe is the damage and to fix if it's required. And secondly, to exercise on the insurance coverage. Two, your question was, will it affect the performance of the aircraft? To some extent, if the impact of the water pressure was switched to a moderately high pressure level, yes, it will cause a damage to the aircraft. One physical sign of us identifying this, you could see a dent on the aircraft body. Sometimes if you just walk across the aircraft, you could see other dent, like 5-cent coins, 20-cent coins. Those are probably sometimes because of the impact of the water pressure, or even during flight, where the aircraft lost some of its aerodynamic during headwind or turbulence. So yes, it will affect the performance for sure, but up to today, what we have come across were the minor incidents where the paint just peel off. So those are the minor rectification required, which we need to basically send the aircraft for repainting again on the spot.
Sir, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So my name is Aiza. If I want to be a part of chemo department, do I need to have any certificate from OEM, maybe?
Yes, indeed. For you to be a chemo, first you need to be certified by the either OEM, the airline itself, because you will have to be able to fall into one of the syllables, either the airline syllables. For instance, let me just quote Malindo here. Malindo operates ATR 72-600 and Boeing 737 800 and 900. So you will be able to fall under the syllabus and the chemo department in Malindo. So then you will be given a certificate by Malindo to operate as a certified chemo under the chemo for 73800 or ATR 72. So that's how it takes. So your question is, if you were to be a chemo for general type of aircrafts, then yes, you will need to be certified by Boeing or Airbus. Then you will have the range of type of aircraft under the manufacturer's brand.
Afternoon, Mr. Aris. Afternoon. Can you hear me?
Afternoon. Yes, I can.
I'm Nick Rosley. I just would like to read one of our student question from our chat box. It's talking about aviation industry will keep growing out in future, and then many aircraft will be created. And then what about the environmental issue? I mean, how to control CO2 emission, for example, when we develop more aircraft? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Janik. I'm just looking at the chat box. Yes, if the aviation industry will keep growing in the future and more airplane will be created, how are they going to handle the CO2 produced by these airplanes, which will affect the environment? To be honest, until today, I think at large, the industry players are still trying to crack their head on this. The largest component of this emission is the jet fuel. So that is the main area we're still trying to identify. Although we look at all the smaller aspect of the performance, like on the ground, whether we use more environment friendly ground support equipment, the best way to dispose the aircraft hydraulic and lubricants. But I think the major component or the major contributor to this is actually the jet fuel. There are many ideas and research being put in place, battery, even to some extent electrical plane, etc. But none has yet come into reality. So it's still in a research stage or design stage.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr.
I also saw a second one, says jelaskan perbezaan engineer yang ambil DCA license compared to engineer macam kami from university and the job scope. Okay, there's two different thing here. Okay, number one, let me just clarify. DCA is no longer called DCA. Department of Civil Aviation. Now it's called. It's being corporatized. It's now called Civil Aviation Authority of Malaysia, CAAM. Okay, in short, it's called CAM. And CAM is a regulatory and an authority, just like our JPJ. So it's a regulatory and authority. So an engineer under CAM will be an inspector, will be inspectoring and will be auditing aircraft engineering aspect of every airline, commercial airline under Malaysian AOC. AOC here is Air Operating Certificate. What is Air Operating Certificate? Is the license given to an airline to operate and carry passengers and cargo. So those are Malaysia Airlines, Firefly, Air Asia, Malindo, etc. Where else compared to engineers, fresh engineers from university and with the scope open, so your journey is wide open out there. You can choose the field of commercial airline, business aviation, even military, defense, or just an MRO, maintenance repair organizations, engineering, because an MRO organization will be catered to handle all kind of aircraft. To give you an example, Sepang Aerospace Engineering does all type of Airbus aircraft. Malaysia Airline Engineering does all type of Airbus and all type of Boeing. So if you're looking at your job career in the perspective of Sepang Aerospace Engineering or Malaysia Airline Engineering, then your license and your expertise and your knowledge will be in 10 years down the road, scope-wise and experience-wise will be very wide, because you will be able to handle 777, 787, Airbus 340, Airbus 330, 737 and the range. So that is the advantage in it. So if you're looking at maintenance, repair, overhaul organization, they are a business of repairing and maintaining and repairing an aircraft. So they will always they will have more than one certification or more than one type of certification, and not forgetting that they will also have approval from every civil aviation authority of every country, not just Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, UK, etc. So you will be able to understand the maintenance requirement of every country, because it's not the same. Yeah, some countries do not allow stage 2 aircraft anymore. Stage 2 aircraft is those aircraft without TICAS or with extended TICAS. but some countries do allow. So there's a lot of requirement in engineering aspect, especially when you're in MRO organization, as compared to if you're in civil aviation as an auditing engineer. Okay, next I would like to just take us a little bit further from where I've just touched. Okay, I will talk a lot about commercial. Now I'm just going to give you a bit of an overview about business aviation and general aviation. Can someone tell me what is the difference between commercial and business aviation and general aviation? Anyone out there wants to give a try?
Difference antara civil dengan military ya, sir? Aviation.
Okay, lebih kurang. Okay, business aviation and general aviation bukan military. Civil and military is okay. Business aviation, general aviation is under civil. Sorry.
General aviation is unscheduled flight.
Correct, unscheduled flight. Business aviation pula is an unscheduled flight, but it's not a commercial aircraft. Yeah. BA and GA are normally the unscheduled flights, non-military flights. What are BA and GA? In short, is the flying academy, flying clubs, helicopters, non-scheduled flights like, if I were to mention some of the names, if you could remember, our local names would be Sabah Air, Hornbill Airways. Yeah, those are the names that actually are unscheduled flights. BA is a business aviation, predominantly is private jets. Yeah, private jets like the Bombardier, Gulfstream, Falcon from Dassault, Embraer, which is like a private car. So it's just a private jet that being used by a corporate company or an individuals to fly from one place to another fast, and to also be able to serve the certain aspect of the industry. Okay, BA&GA here is also serving the most important industry here that BA and GA is serving is the medical evacuation. BA and GA save a lot of life around the world, because BA and GA is also an flying ambulance. So if you come across people required an emergency mobilization from one country to another for medical treatment, this is where it's done by BA and GA. They actually fly it on a helicopter, on a medical evacuation private jet for immediate medical treatment. And usually these are fully paid by the insurance company of their own personal insurance. That's the difference between BA and GA and commercial. Allow me to just describe the future of BA and GA to you all. BA and GA is the beginning of the paradigm for Malaysia. We're not like commercial. Commercial, we have been in Malaysia has been in the growth of commercial aviation for many years since the beginning of Malaysia Airlines. And today we have seen AirAsia has taken Malaysia brand name to many places around the world. Yeah, so those are the milestone of commercial aviation. Where else for BA and GA, the opportunity still was open, very wide open, because I must say after this pandemic, this last 2 years, I'm saying 2019, 2020, we have seen that when there's a huge crunch in commercial travel, everybody started opting to business aviation. Everybody started buying jet. Everybody started leasing a jet one way or another, because the need for travel is still there, but there is no supply. People need to travel, tapi tak ada supply to carry, because in the past, anyone could just buy a ticket online and just go to the airport, fly. Either you're flying on business class or economy, you can just fly to destination. Even if the aircraft is not serving to that destination directly, they could transit from Dubai or anywhere else to the final destination. When all this disappeared for the last 2 years, people have switched to business aviation. I'm not just saying Malaysia, but I'm saying throughout the world. Statistically, it has proven that you can always Google and see the number of business aviation jet has been produced and sold the last 2 years. has surpassed the number of jets sold for the last 10 years. In Malaysia alone, the last 2 years, 2019, 2020, 7 private jet has been delivered, whether it's pre-owned or brand new, for the purpose of easy travel and the demand for travel and easy travel, both to expect. Yes, business aviation is very expensive, because for one to charter a plane and fly just to fly themselves from point A to B, it will going to be very expensive. But somehow, corporate companies are able to do this because the cost of them running a business and loss of opportunity is a lot more higher than actually chartering one plane to fly from A to B to materialize a contract. So it's why that the classification of private jet is also called business aviation, because it's mainly to serve the business entity. But earlier of this, I don't know if some of you was already on the network earlier when I was talking to Dr. Ali. I was saying that the medical evacuation movement has increased for the last 2 years. We have started flying a lot of patients from Indonesia, Philippines, Thailand to Malaysia for medical treatment. We used to handle like two to 4 flights a day into Subang for medical evacuation. So that's how robust is the growth in business aviation and general aviation. Helicopter is another area. It's still not yet matured in Malaysia, in my understanding, because we see helicopter only when there is an air show, when there's a defense exercise, but really we don't see many helicopters owners here in Malaysia yet, and helicopters will be able to connect us easily to any places that we don't even need an airport or airstrip to land. We could even land on top of buildings if there's a helipad on top. So, and remote locations like jungle and mountain area, as long as there's an open space. So helicopter could be also another area where Malaysia should see a huge growth there. And this is also confirmed by the OEM, the manufacturers of helicopters like Bell, Airbus, Leonardo. They have set up their offices here in Malaysia and also their base here, with the hope that they would want to see the numbers of helicopter usage and ownership in Malaysia to grow. So these are all the futures that you can see where you can fit into in helicopters, business aviation, medical aviation, general aviation, that just more than what you see in commercial aviation as well. Any questions so far? Because I'm going to quickly touch on MRO a little bit. MRO here is about hangarage. I'm sure that you all have probably been to or heard MRO hangars or seen an MRO hangars in the screen. So if there's any question, please. Okay, I'm going to move to MRO. This would be the last but not least, some of the scope that I would like to share today. MRO, maintenance, repair, and overhaul, would be the most interesting subject for all of you here today, because I think every one of you would be seeing that what are the opportunities in MRO. In Malaysia, MRO is one of the future development that even in our national economic footprint under MITI and MIDA, where we foresee that MRO organization from overseas will be establishing a lot of activities here in Malaysia. One main reason to this is we are an English-speaking country. A lot of resources, trained resources available in Malaysia. We have many airports that can support MRO, because MRO do not need to be in KLIA. So it's not a very essential for MRO, a big hangar, to actually be able to operate from KLIA. MRO can operate from Subang, can operate from Penang, Johor Bahru, Kuantan, even locations like Alor Star, Ipoh, etc. As long as the runway can cater for the type of aircraft, because the aircraft that's coming in and going out are usually empty, so it's not with a load. The scope of MRO is also growing in this region. This is pre-pandemic. If we look at pre-pandemic, the largest number of orders of Airbus aircraft in the world is in this region. And I think all of you know that AirAsia is the largest order. AirAsia has made the largest order of Airbus in this region, or in the world actually, and that is in Malaysia and for Southeast Asia use. The largest order of Boeing 737, 800, 900, and the controversial aircraft 737 MAX. The largest order is also in this region, Southeast Asia. Who lead the order? It's actually Lion Air of Indonesia, ordered more than 200 planes. So that immediately put Southeast Asia as the fastest growing aviation sector compared to any other country in the world. Not forgetting, China is also a largest order in all type of jets, narrow body, mid-size, and long-haul jets. So entirely between North Asia and South Asia, we are looking at almost half of the fleet in the future will actually be on our airspace in the greater Asia airspace. And that is how much demand that we will see in terms of maintenance requirement for all these aircraft. Every aircraft will have to go through a C check and an A check. So that is the demand that we will see. So even we look at some of, even to do our own business forecast for Subang Sky Park, we did a review study with our consultants, PwC, and they have confirmed that MRO will be the future, in at least for the next 20 years in Malaysia. We could see that MRO sector will be growing rapidly. Every hangar will be fully occupied, and there's going to be a shortage of hangars in Malaysia as we speak. I can confirm that with you. Sky Park itself, Sky Park Regional Aviation Centre RAC, we have 5 hangars on our own. During this pandemic period, I am proud to say that our hangars are 95% occupied, and we have a problem of actually. My problem is actually, or our problem is actually to accommodate more aircraft. We are getting more demand, but we don't have enough hangar space to offer. So it's actually a positive sign, because all these aircraft that coming in and parking, either for short-term, long-term, or preservative parking, are requiring maintenance almost every day. Because just like our car, the aircraft engine needs to be switched on, the aircraft needs to run its APU, the aircraft needs to run its idle engine run to ensure that all the avionics in the aircraft are fully functional, just in case if they want to fly, the aircraft is always ready. So every day it has to be done. Even this morning, I got a message from Hong Kong asking if we have a space to park a plane. So that's how it is. So it's pretty exciting to all of you to see where the future of MRO is going to be, and probably some of you will be essential in this industry in years to come. So don't rule out in aspect of MRO, and you might see that this is another area that you want to seriously look at, but please don't look at it from the perspective of just fixing and just looking at the aspect of engine work in MRO, yeah, because it have a lot of other components that require, from avionics, critical item, non-essential item, essential items, and even to up to engine. Any questions so far? I think we're coming towards the end of the session. I've got 5 minutes for a quick Q&A.
Sir, we from, okay, can you hear me? Sir,
Yes.
so we from pure mechanical engineering. So what's the credit or like certification or something that can make us compete the aeronautical mechanical engineer, because they very specifically to aircraft, they already studied it specifically. So how we can like compete to them? Kena ambil certificate ke or anything?
Yes, you have to. As I was saying tadi kan, even to because it's aviation is highly regulated and highly uh, not just regulated within the country but also by many authorities. We have got ICAO, IATA, etc., etc. So most of the field of the aspect of engineering or in general aviation would require um, training. Sorry. Would require training and certification. Yes, that's true. One way or another, you would require certification by the OEM or by the MRO organization, or even you joining as a intern into an organization and being trained from there specifically to certain aspect of area of engineering, because it's a wide area. You have avionics, non-avionics, you have mechanical, critical or essential and non-essential critical items.
Okay, Cik Aris. Can I just add in? I think because some of them, I think you have already answered that. I think one of the questions they asked also, can engineer become a pilot? Of course they can, I guess, but they have to go to, like you said, it's a highly regulated industry that you have to get a separate training. Okay. I noticed also just now that what's the difference? Excuse me. So those who are not talking, can you mute your phone or your computer? Okay. Like Cik Haris, aviation is huge. Aviation is huge. If you have a degree in mechanical, if you want to become a licensed engineer, then I think you can go again for training, retraining. They have like APR, they retrain, and then after that they send to you, kan, Cik Haris, for practical training. Okay, to get for the certain hours for them to sit for the exam. Okay, if you are like myself, when I came back as an aerospace engineer and aircraft maintenance engineer from a university, we can't work directly. Excuse me?
Time semua dah jam ah.
Excuse me?
Walaupun tengah tak ada kereta, tapi depan tu
Hafiz, diam Hafiz.
lori besar ataupun lori slow.
I think admin can Dr. Ali ke apa? Okay. So for aircraft engine for those who come from the university, I think like Cik Haris, you also employ them, isn't it? But mainly to become like planning engineer, scheduling engineer,
Correct.
project engineer, and so on. Okay, but we can also work for example, I used to work with Aerot. Aerot is a military company. Service the military aircraft. So we can, because we are not regulated under commercial. Commercial is very highly regulated by CAM. Okay. But we can maintain the aircraft, and we do design. We do the for example, there are technical spec. If you need special repair scheme and so on, these are the engineers that come from university, because you do the analysis, you do the simulation, you do the calculation and so on. But you cannot become a licensed engineer. If you want to become a licensed engineer, it's not you can, but you have to go back and take a certain, you have to repeat a certain education lah. You have to go back to become a licensed engineer. Same, you want to be a pilot also, not a problem, but you have to go back to attend pilot training. So, if you want to be a licensed engineer, you have to attend aircraft license engineer training. So that's all. But like now, I think like just now you said also, there's a lot of aviation company now in Malaysia, like Aerodyne and all that. They do about about drone drone research and so on. Then that is your field as a mechanical aerospace or aeronautic aircraft engineer. So there's nothing stopping you. But if you want to go further, like to become a pilot or licensed engineer, then you have to have additional training. Betul je. But you also employ engineers to become planning, scheduling, managing the aircraft.
Betul. Even some engineers that I know in Changi, they are actually air controller, air traffic controller.
Yes.
Yep.
I also have ex-student from USM, they become air traffic controller. The world doesn't stop there, isn't it?
Any other questions?
Mr. Haris, yeah, I have one question for you. Like you just mentioned about MRO, does it all the MRO happen at a Skype bar, or some of it you have to send it to other company like Spirit, UPK, or UMW Aerospace? Does it happen at there like that?
Okay, I believe MRO here can be in any airport, so not necessarily Subang Sky Park. So it can be in KLIA Mas Engineering or Sepang Aerospace Engineering. So secondly, to answer to your question, you mentioned specifically UMW, UPK. Those are component shops. Those are the back-end shops we call in MRO. So when some items, for instance, when the engine is dropped from the aircraft and the engine needs an overhaul, that engine will be taken out and sent to GE at Subang, or even to some other facilities where does like F-oil, etc., that does an engine overhaul. So it's taken out like ATS, air turbine. So they do engine work specifically. Similarly, the landing gear can be dropped from the aircraft with the jack, and the landing gear can be sent to a back shop or the component shop to fix it and then return back to the MRO center for reinstallation.
I think there's one more question in the chat, I think, Haris. Is there any possibility that Malaysia will have its own space program?
Yes, I replied, highly possible with collaboration with US, China, India, or Russia. Even to some extent, we probably could see even some of the private initiative can actually also have a base in Malaysia, like Virgin Space, etc.
Mr. Haris, I
Yes,
have one question actually.
yes, sir.
Space is money in aviation, isn't it? Space is money.
Yes.
Do you have any specific formula to develop aviation? I mean, to consider about cost effective and also customer satisfaction. Do you have any specific formula for that? Cost effective and customer satisfaction.
Customer satisfaction here, in terms of the flying comfort, or
Yes, in terms of flying comfort, yeah, space. They pay for space actually, yeah.
okay, you're talking about the space program here again.
No, the space inside the aviation. I mean the seat. They pay. I mean,
Okay. All right. If I may share, I need to share of a little bit of Singapore Airlines because that's where I was partly involved. Sectors, long haul sectors require more space comfort for passengers. So in Singapore Airlines, in those days, it used to be 747 because 747 used to be the best equipment for long haul back then when we do not have a 777 or 787. Aircraft that flies to the US, aircraft that flies to Europe will have a better space comfort in terms of seating. So you would realize, as compared to if you take a Singapore airline from KL to Singapore, you will see the economy class seat space. I wouldn't say it's as bad as AirAsia, but you would see a difference. Assuming you're flying KL, Singapore, transit in Changi, going to, let's say, US to further your study, you will see Singapore KL sector, KL Singapore sector, the aircraft is an Airbus 330, but the seat configuration is like, wow, you might be thinking, is this the seat that I'm going to sit all the way to US? But when you transit into another flight in Changi, then you will find, hey, wow, I have so much of space leg. So it's actually the aircraft is being designed to cater to the sector flown. How we identify this is we identify by the aircraft registration number. So we will know which aircraft registration has got how many seats, how many toilets, how big of a baggage compartment area. For example, those aircraft that going to Jeddah, we know we will be carrying a lot of Umrah pilgrims. Our water tank in the toilet for the toilet use will be a lot bigger for ablation purposes. And the cargo space will be bigger because when on return we'll be carrying a lot of Zamzam water. Yeah.
We have a few more in the chat box, I think. I think even earlier, I think one was asking about, Aiza is asking about your point of view regarding medical evacuation can survive in Malaysia. I do not know what does it mean, but I know what is medical evacuation. What does it mean? Does the industry of the company that provide medical evacuation survive? I don't understand the question. Can you elaborate, Aiza? What does you mean by this? In your point of view, Medivac can survive in Malaysia? What do you mean? The person survive or the company survive or what?
The company survive sebab as I know that Medivac in Malaysia dia ada tapi dia macam tak di-commercialkan something. So macam in the point of view of Mr. Haris, kalau kita buat Medivac dekat Malaysia and then bukan dekat area Sabah Sarawak but more to Semenanjung, boleh survive. So,
Thank you for the question, Aiza. The Medivac here for Malaysia ni sebabkan if you're talking about Peninsula, all the cities in Peninsula are well connected with the highway, and we have specialist hospital and even our Ministry of Health facilities are fully equipped in most of the major states like Johor Bahru, Malacca, you name it, all the main cities in every state. So Medivac operation within Peninsula will be a tough challenge because people could find an alternative fast response for medical treatment within their locality. So someone who's in Perlis can easily rush to any hospitals in Alor area or in Kedah. So likewise to even Penang. Medivac, where we are talking about here, is actually promoting Malaysia's medical facility under the pretext of medical tourism through government agency called Malaysia Health Travel Council, MHTC, which is under MOTEC, Ministry of Tourism, Art and Culture, to promote this as another source of revenue for the country, pendapatan. So what we do is, the promotion and marketing memang betul we don't do in Malaysia because our market segment that we are targeting is the Indonesians, the Philippines, the Thai, to actually fly into Malaysia on a medical treatment, whether it's an emergency or whether it's pre-planned for their medical treatment. So if any one of you are from Malacca, and if you have been to Malacca Airport, you would see Malindo Air fly from Pekanbaru to Malacca, and predominantly all the passengers are going to Mahkota Hospital. The reason being is we support a lot of medical tourism into the country. So the objective of the medical tourism here, or the Medivac evacuation here, is to target the neighboring countries. So aliran wang masuk ke negara. So we want to actually tap on the revenue into the country to support the tourism, to support the medical facilities, and essentially the Medivac aircraft is also available to transport someone urgently. Kata someone is now having a heart failure, we could straight away transport them from any hospital in Indonesia, fly them on a Medivac aircraft with a doctor and nurse inside the aircraft and fully equipped, all the way to Subang Airport, and immediately transfer them to Prince Court, what do you call that? Any other hospitals in Klang Valley, like Gleneagles, etc. here, Columbia Asia, some of these hospitals. That even Institute Jantung Negara, we send a lot of patients from Indonesia to our IJN for medical treatments. But our medical facilities is well known di Asia Tenggara, and people have a confidence to actually pay and fly here for medical treatment.
Thank you. Thank you, Charis. Hope it answers to you, Aiza. Okay, we have also, due to situation of COVID, how airline services handle financially, and how about the employees? I think, have you answered that, Charis? Okay. From Najwa Zagira.
Sorry, switch on the mic.
Huh? Oh, Charis, can unmute? Okay. Charis?
Yes.
Okay, there's one from Najwa Zagira. Have you addressed this one? How the airline services handle financially, and how about the employees now?
COVID-19, very interesting.
Yeah.
I will have to say that I have took a pay cut myself. It's a temporary measure. It has been reinstated just like few months back. Yes, everyone in aviation industry were affected by the pandemic. It's not something that we have prepared. It just goes to any industry. Hotel industry suffered the most, and we have seen many other industries as well, manufacturing including. So we are all not being ruled from this, to be true. So we are all affected one way or another. However, as I was saying earlier, in Subang Airport, we've seen that activities of the commercial flights and the business aviation and general aviation grown the last 2 years. This has become a new enabling opportunity for us, because when the demand for commercial is no longer available, everyone is now rushing to opt for a business jet travel, medical evacuation, helicopters travel from point A to point B to take them around. So to answer to you, yes, the COVID-19 has affected the aviation industry. Many of our friends out there has lost their job. So it has been a tough time for all of us in the industry. Nevertheless, now we could see with the revival in the whole economy that you could see that the aviation is coming back. Airline now has started posting a shortage of pilot, shortage of engineers, shortage of cabin crew, etc., etc. So it's probably going to be back in probably by second quarter next year. I think we will start seeing even borders opening. So that will be a positive sign for all of us in this industry, not just aviation, but any industry.
Thank you, Shahriz. I think it's also covered the question asked by Wan Haziq Idham. Is that true in the field of aircraft and aviation? It is very difficult for job opportunities in Malaysia, especially during this pandemic.
Yes, you might find that when there is no business opportunity for all the industries, especially when the aircraft is not flying, when aircraft is not flying, all the aircraft has been mothballed. When the aircraft is mothballed, maintenance work does not required to be carried out. So it's a chain reaction, kan? So you will see that a lot of Earths are affected one way or another in aviation on the whole. Even Petronas can supply a jet fuel, so they have a huge storage of jet fuel, but they cannot supply this to anyone because aircraft is not flying. So all of us, one way or another, affected by it. And the good sign is, I think this is an opportunity for us, for the country, for us as a Malaysian. We have enabled ourselves. We have managed to survive from this. So we will be more prepared in the future. If there's any pandemic to hit, we'll be more prepared, more ready on how to handle crisis and even how to handle ourselves and even the industry, such as aviation, tourism, etc.
Thank you, Charis. There's another one from Wan Ahmad Balia bin Wan Mat. Dalam industri penerbangan Malaysia, apakah kebiasaan kepakaran yang ditawarkan dalam syarikat tempatan selain penyelenggaraan? So, what are other specialization besides maintenance?
Oh, banyak. Macam saya maksudkan tadi earlier, we need to see all the activities carried out dalam sesuatu penerbangan before the flight. So before engineering comes in, before the pilots takes off over the flight, aircraft need to be weigh and balance. What is weigh and balance is we need to check berapa passenger, jumlah passenger dalam pesawat, berapa banyakkah muatan minyak pesawat perlukan for that route, and whether the fuel is enough kalau ada bad weather. So all this involve a lot of calculation, and this is done by the operation control room ataupun flight operation we call it. And before the aircraft fly, kita kena dapatkan permit. Otherwise, you might come across this incident. A foreign country might just shoot the plane down because it will be seen as an verified or unverified source of aircraft entering into their airspace. So there's a lot of people actually putting their effort to make sure sebelum aircraft to depart daripada any airport lah for that matter. Whether it's on before departure or even if it's after arrival. So to answer to you there, there's a lot of kepakaran required. Like I was saying earlier, air traffic controller, one of which. Aircraft ground management, ground operation is one of which kepakaran juga. Flight planning, flight plan department is satu kepakaran. Operation control center, operation control room, planning the route. Why planning the route is so important is economy. Jadi kita tak membazir minyak to make sure aircraft to fly dalam route yang paling cost efficient. Dan kalau ada any cuaca that kita dah boleh, now with the technology we will already boleh predetermine where is the bad weather, kita boleh elakkan bad weather tu, so boleh mengelakkan turbulence dan sebagainya. So it's also safety as well as cost saving. So banyak kepakaran dalam konteks of aviation ni memang luas.
Thank you, Charis. There's a few more. Hold on. Because I keep on meeting students, they keep going out and in and out, in and out. I think because of the unstable internet connection.
I believe, yeah.
I believe, yeah. Okay, how does the COVID-19 pandemic affect the aviation industry? I think you have answered that. Is it true that job opportunities in aviation fields are demanding right now? From Irfan.
Is it true the job opportunity in aviation field are demanding right now?
I think in demand.
Well, it is in demand. It start to grow, macam I just mentioned earlier. Now that with the revival of travel segment, domestic is now open, so we already start to see some vacuum there, shortage of resources, because earlier when all these people were out of job, retrenched, or even suspended for the time being, so they are now coming back. The moment the border is open for international, you will see a huge jump for where you will see a lot of articles appearing for job vacancies, etc.
I think the last one from Aiza, we can convert LAE license from EASA to EASA to Malaysia. I think yes, because yes, but you have to sit for the exam.
Correct.
Yeah, this is all they have to sit. Of course, Malaysia is using EASA. but you still have to sit for exam with CAM. So the same thing just now. I think someone was asking about RAM,
Yes.
RMAF. Of course, they need to go for Ahmad Farisuddin, Solihin. So RMF engineer need to have proper license such LAE. If for military, they have to go with RMF training, and they be certified by RMF itself because they have their own training officer. But if they want to service commercial, they still have to go with CAM. So I think that is on the licensing. So I think Haris also has mentioned several times about the regulation that for commercial we have to go with
My advice to all of you, keep the options wide open. Don't just limit yourself towards the engineering scope. Just because you have done engineering, not necessarily you will only fit into engineering. You have to keep your scope wide open out there. Tak semestinya because you are from mechanical engineering and every job employment that comes out, you only need to look at mechanical engineering scope ataupun scope that involve dengan engineering. There's so many out there. You may be much better in doing that scope. Although you have mastered in mechanical engineering, you could be a best ATC. You could be a best pilot sometime. You can be someone best in contributing to fuel efficiency for airline in terms of route calculation. So don't rule out to just a limited scope.
Thank you so much, Haris. Thank you for reminding that, because I had also last time when I had a student when they joined aviation company, they thought that they're just going to be all engineers, and they got upset. They called me, I graduated from so and so high class, high 5-star university and all that. You just asked me to do logistic or to do procurement. But we need engineers to do procurement for aviation company. We cannot just hire anybody, without the engineering background. But like I said, thank you so much. I think everybody can hear that not necessarily you have to you have a mechanical degree that you wants to become an engineer, specifically just become licensed engineer or very technical, but actually we employ in logistic, transport and logistic and so on. So yeah. Hope whatever you have given have changed their mindset, because otherwise they think, okay, I am an engineer, I'm a mechanical engineer, I only want to do mechanical engineer job, the technical job and so on. But there are actually we need engineers to do even all logistic management, scheduling, research and so on. So thank you, Haris, for open their mindset on this particular area, because otherwise, like even safety, to become OSHA officer and so on. The reason I speak to this is because I have only 60 students that I can explain tomorrow or on Monday, but the rest is another 500 or 550 students I cannot explain to them, okay, on this issue. Any more question from the floor to Charis before we end the session? I guess that's it.
Yeah, I guess so far. But anyway, I have my email address at the top of the chat box today. So should you all have anything that you want to ask further, or you want to drop in your CV in the future, I do welcome. I'm someone always encouraged for the next generation to build this nation and to take this aviation industry to next level. And I'm always be there to be more than happy to help out wherever possible. Yeah, Doctor, if I can, a quick word of encouragement is please don't limit yourself because of engineering, mechanical engineering. So it doesn't end there. Please don't ever shut the opportunity. Please look beyond what you could see. If you feel of interest is aviation, look at everything that's available under the pretext of aviation. It's wide open out there. Don't limit yourself at all. I'm saying this from my own personal experience. Um, Obviously, you have seen my CV, and I'm mastered of logistic and supply chain, but I've never done logistic and supply chain at all. I am today managing an airport, so don't limit yourself at all.
One last question, Cik Haris. Is it true that people yang rabun tak boleh jadi pilot?
I think it depends on how rabun it is. So in the past, yes. In my time, kalau pakai cermin mata tak boleh jadi pilot. Yes, that's what they used to tell. I think now with the current technology, I've seen some pilots actually wearing spectacles. So I don't think it's casted on the stone that kalau rabun, tapi it is very important to see what is the ability of eyesight, because I think to some extent it's the visibility is tu pun important. So I cannot, in short, I can say it's not a stopper. It does not end there, but I'm sure there is a way to even rectify rabun these days. There's a lot of technology, medical technologies now.
Yeah, Dr. Bulan said can buat laksik. Yeah, it's correct. I concurred with Fikri Haziq. My brother pakai cermata can be pilot for MAS. He said pilot need to have backup spectacle when he flight is through. Yeah, my neighbor also is Air Asia pilot. He wears spectacle. Like said, it was the old time that once you wear spectacle, they don't take you. But now I think it's not an issue anymore. Especially if you are a senior, they still allow you to fly. Okay, thank you, Fikri, for concurring on that.
So I guess we got a pilot in the house now.
Yeah, you got a pilot in the house. So like I said, nothing stopping you if you pakai spek mata ke apa ke contact lens ke, you still can be a pilot. Except I'm not so sure about colorblind lah. Colorblind I couldn't answer on that lah. I think colorblind still a lot of limitation to them lah. I think so, those who are colorblind. Okay. Any other question? Any other question before we leave? We have another 2 more minutes before we end our session. Okay, ada satu lagi. Muhammad Afiq Aizat. At the start of the meeting, you said something about personal flying vehicle in terms of infrastructure. Do we need a new infrastructure to be established to accommodate such innovation?
Yes, I do. There is going to be a future coming ahead of us. Not very far from now, 10 years, I suppose, we will see whether it's an unmanned flying machine or even a flying car will be flying just over our head or on top of our house. The thing is, what we have not been very clearly underlined into the aspect of the future here is technology is already available. Development is taking place in some of the countries. People have already started the prototypes. What is not very clear is the regulatory. So I was saying that the regulatory is something that personally I feel is going to happen. It's just a matter of time. How is our regulatories like CAM, DCA, ataupun now it's called CAM, Civil Aviation Authority Malaysia, is going to regulate this? How is Ministry of Transport going to regulate this? How our Ministry of Defence, PDRM, is going to regulate this? Because it could be also a nuisance sometime, right? Because when you see a lot of flying objects on top of our house, it could also impose to some extent security, safety, etc. So how are the authorities going to regulate this? So that's what I was saying. Those are the infrastructure that need to come in place. As far as airport, I think our country has been blessed with some of the best airport that we have with sufficient runway, etc. So I don't think it's going to be an issue, but I think regulatory, how high you can fly, how low you cannot fly, how close to someone's property you cannot fly into, etc. So what are the law will come in place? So those are the things that may need to be drawn up by our authorities.
Thank you very much, Cik Haris.
Yeah.
Okay, there's also a few more about, students are very much interested when you mention about drone. Okay,
Yes,
drone will be under aviation industry in future, and any technologies to introduce to prevent accident like MH370. Okay,
Cool.
I also included that for those who are interested, Cik Haris, I think you also will be hosting Selangor Aviation Show. I put the website here.
No, thanks.
Yeah, so UITM also will be presenting, okay, for